Hey everybody, it's Scotty from Scotty's Record Shop with another artist profile. This one is kind of special and cool because it's a request. I can't always fill, people have been asking me to do certain artist profiles, and if I've only got 2 or 3 albums by the person, or a group or whatever, it's kind of silly to do an entire artist profile by them. In some cases, a couple people have asked for a few groups. One Dimension, I can't remember who asked, but somebody wanted to see my Queen collection, and I've got a fair amount of Queen, but I'm not quite done yet. I want to replace some old vinyl that I've had since I was like 10. The covers are pretty mashed up, and as you all know, Queen, for whatever reason, is becoming more and more valuable out there in the wild. So it's getting tougher to, I don't want to pay enormous amounts of money for it, but that video will be coming sometime fairly soon, I would hope. However, I am able to fulfill one request from Andre, who wanted to see my Hall and Oates record collection, vinyl, at least LPs are concerned. There's a lot of 45s as usual upstairs. When he first asked me that, I was thinking, God, what do I have from Hall and Oates? I know I got a lot of their albums, but do I have all of them or even close to them? And I went and I looked and I went, my God, I guess I do have pretty much all of them. So we're going to run through them. Some interesting pieces in there. It's not all H2O and Big Bamboo and some of those 80s albums. There's some interesting stuff from the 70s, some hard to find stuff too. So let me put the old mouse down here and we'll start running through. Hall & Oates' first album came out in 1972 and it didn't do well. It was on the Atlantic record label. No hits off of it. And this is one of those albums that you usually don't find in a dollar bin. Luckily I got my copy a long time ago, but it's getting more and more scarce just because it didn't sell very well. It didn't even make it onto the Billboard album charts. The album was Whole Oats from Hall and Oates. It's on the, now check that out. Talking about some hippies there, huh? Them guys was young back then. Anyway, 1972 for this album on the Atlantic. I'll show you the label. I mean, everybody knows this Atlantic label. See, you know this Atlantic label, don't you guys? Of course you do. So anyway, not a bad album. It's certainly not like Private Eyes or any of the late 70s, 80s stuff that was super smash hits for them. It wasn't quite like that, but still, if you really like Hall and Oates, I would suggest you find all these. They're not mega hard to find. It's not like, if you pay more than like $10 for this, you pay too much, in my opinion. So then we move on to, put these in order here, Abandoned Luncheonette, 1973 for this album. And they tried to have a hit off this. Actually, they would have a hit off this album, just not yet. It was issued in early 1974, the song She's Gone, which only made it up to like number 60 on the Billboard charts, but it was at least an entry, which made this enough for it to enter into the Billboard charts. Not a big smash album, but not a bad album either. I mean, they're working on their sound. So anyway, Abandoned Luncheonette, 1973, from Hall & Oates, again on the Atlantic label. I'm not going to pull it out for you. You know it. This one isn't a bad album. Some people give this album a really bad rap. I don't mind it. You just got to be in the right frame of mind for it. War Babies, Hall & Oates, 1974. For this one, it's not a bad album. It's just, you've got to almost separate yourself from the hit-making machine that was Hall & Oates and the early records. But here we go. War Babies, again on the Atlantic record label. 1974. No hits off of this. It did chart, though, on the album charts. 1975, they switched labels. I'm assuming that Atlantic said, okay, thank you very much. We've had enough of you. 1975, they went over to RCA, and it was a really good pickup for RCA. They started off with an album simply called Hall & Oates. And I'm hoping, yes, this will show up in the video. In later pressings of this, the metallic kind of look of the cover wasn't there. It was just a gray color. I had a funny story, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt now. A week or two ago, I was at the Record Connection, one of my favorite little watering holes, my only watering hole for music anyway, and I saw a copy of this. It was a later pressing, you know, had the Best Buy sticker on it, but it was sealed. I was like, oh man, I should have. It was for $1. That's why I should have picked it up. I'm going to show you the label on this one, just because it's an interesting RCA label. It's the gold. It's a metallic, like a silvery looking label, which wasn't common. They wanted to match the album. This album, right from the get-go, Hall and Oates doing okay. This had the album this had the song, I'm sorry, Sarah Smile, which was a great song. Their first big hit. And because of the success of Sarah Smile, Atlantic Records said, oh, come on, man. Let's see if you can make us some money. So they reissued She's Gone, and that went into the top 10 as well. So finally, Atlantic Records got some of their money back. But they were wishing that they had the money that Hall and Oates was giving RCA at this particular point in time, 1976. This is probably my favorite Hall and Oates album. I just really love this album a lot. Bigger Than the Both of Us, 1976. This pull this baby out for you. Yeah, this is just a basic RCA. So this is a little bit of a later pressing too. This is a later 70s pressing. It doesn't have a barcode on it, so I'm guessing that I picked this up probably maybe knowing me, probably around 79, 80-ish or so, when I was just a young whippersnapper. Good record though, from Hall and Oates. If you want to get an album by Hall and Oates that's not a greatest hits, that you want to get a feel of who they were and not get burned or anything or be concerned, this might be the album to get. Bigger Than the Both of Us. Okay. Now, because Hall and Oates were doing so well here, they were having hit singles, people wanted to cash in on them. One of them, again, was Atlantic. And they issued this compilation called No Goodbyes. It's a compilation of their 3 Atlantic year albums. Again, it's a good listen, actually, because they picked some pretty decent tracks. 1977 for that. This was one that, if you look on the Hall & Oates website for their discography, this one isn't even listed because it really isn't a Hall & Oates album. Even though even though it says Hall & Oates, it's on a record label called Chelsea. I'm going to show you their label. This is also 1977. Chelsea. Did I get this right? Yeah, I do. Chelsea. Now, this record really isn't Hall & Oates. It's actually Daryl Hall back in the late 60s, early 70s, some demos and stuff like that. It's not a great album. If you're a completist, it's an interesting album. I don't want to totally trash it, though. I actually found this one for $1. It was one of the ones I didn't have, and I'd found it for $1 a while ago, but I'm sure you can still find it. Although I looked it up online. The CD version of this, which is an expanded version, has a few more songs, isn't even in print anymore, and the album's not in print, so you'll have a little bit of a hard time. But it's interesting to hear Daryl Hall in the 60s. Demos. He was in a band in the 60s as well that put out an album or two, and I'm trying to think of the name of the band. But I can't. I'm not going to waste the entire video trying to think of that, but an interesting album anyway. Pastimes Behind. Here we go with a live album from Hall & Oates. This is a good record, a good kind of fun listen. 1977. I'm not sure if they hit a writer's block or what was going on. I'll explain it when they show you the next album. I'm pretty sure this is on the original. Let's see here if it has a... Yes, it does have a sleeve, black lyric sleeve, and your usual RCA label. By 77, this was the cover, the label for RCA, just in case you didn't know. 77, 78, they went to that black label. Anyway, the reason that I say that there was a writer's block or something going on, even though there were technically 4 albums released by Hall and Oates in 77, they weren't really doing too good. This album, Beauty on the Back Streets, did not do well. Didn't have, I mean, Hall and Oates were on a roll. They were doing really good, and then they put this out. And this is not a bad album. It's not a horrible album. Let me show you, if I put the inner sleeve. This little thing that came inside of it here. Lyrics. The thing about this album is, for some reason, they released some singles off of it, and they all flopped. It wasn't their best work, and you know, I'm not sure. Like I said, was it a writer's block? I don't know. We can thank RCA for not giving up on them. Boy, this is going in hard. There it is. We can thank RCA for not giving up on them, because they were on the verge of becoming mega big. Very, very quickly. Move on. Along the Red Ledge. We get a hit single off this. This album isn't bad. They're starting to really, I think, really find themselves again. Show you the inside. I know some of you are like, show me everything in this. This has got a really nice hard inner sleeve. And yeah, I was right. And they're kind of a custom label, custom RCA. Kind of looks like the throwback to the early 70s, kind of pinkish reddish label, but not quite. Different tan, different shade. I mean. We'll put this back in here, which I probably should have taken all these out. Usually I take these out before I show the videos, but I was lazy today. It's been kind of a crazy day. Okay. Ecstatic. They're at least starting to chart again with albums and singles here. They haven't like really gotten huge yet. I mean, they're having some big hits, but there's the and this has a custom label as well. There you go. This next album, 1980, this was the album that I just vividly remember 3 singles coming off this. 3 of them that I can think of off the top of my head. All of them really did well. This was really where Hall and Oates really took off. It was for this album, 1980, Voices. Another interesting thing about this record is it loads from and unloads from the top. I'll show you the inner paper sleeve for this, lyric sleeve, and yeah, your basic RCA label. This a good record. Now we're getting into the point where Hall and Oates figured out, like I don't want to demean them by saying they had a formula, but they had a formula, and they were using it, and they were writing good pop songs that were charting really, really well. And that's, you know, when you're in business, that's what you do. Okay, so moving on to the point where everything they release now is just big. This is an older copy. You can see ring wear. I've had this since '81. I've had this for a long, long time. And actually, the funny thing about this, I think this is an RCA or a Columbia House, one of these record club things. I was involved in one of those way back when. The inner sleeve and the label, which I'll show you. Oh, it is different. Okay, I was wrong. Boy, this needs to be cleaned. Alright, see what I'm doing here? There we go. Sorry about that, guys. There you go. That's what the label looks like. Okay, same on both sides. For the Private Eyes album, 1981. I've got to give this one a listen again. I haven't heard this one in a long time, and I'm finding that some of the albums that I had when I was a youngster, I didn't understand like I do today on how to care for records and stuff. Hopefully you understand a little bit about caring for your vinyl. Especially if you're buying expensive vinyl. You're not playing them on crappy turntables and not cleaning them before you do. Well, I was playing these on crappy turntables, not cleaning them before, and I didn't understand because I was 12 years old or 14, 15, whatever I was at the time. And there was no YouTube vinyl community to let me know, no, you shouldn't be doing it like that. So I may need to replace that one, but anyway. Here we go. It's more hits. H2O. I love the name of that album. Just because of, Hall and Oates, H2O. Just thought it really worked well. Of course, this was the album that brought the mega hit Man Eaters. For them, there's your inner sleeve. Trying to remember if this had a... Yeah, it did. Did it have custom labels? For that. At this point in time, they were pumping like 3 hit singles off of each album. Another top-loading album, too, by the way. Kind of interesting. Yeah, at this point in time, 81, 82, Hall and Oates were just really on top of the world. If any of you were alive back then or could remember it, they were everywhere. You couldn't get rid of them. It was almost kind of sickening at the point where you almost didn't want to hear them anymore. But they decided to issue a greatest hits. A lot of people were issuing greatest hits right around Christmas time. This was their Christmas, I think, 1982, I believe, is when this one was. They'd stick 2 new songs on here. This was a kind of a trend for greatest hits of that era. A bunch of hit singles and some stuff. I'm reading them. Sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things here at once, multitasking. Anyway, Adult Education and Family Man were the 2 singles off this. Now, some pressings of this have this as the front cover. It's kind of weird. There's more than one pressing of this. Kind of like the cover configuration. Kind of like the Police Synchronicity. I was watching a video by LJ, and he was discussing how he has 800 copies of that. And they're all different. Maybe not that many, but I've got a few different copies as well. Anyway, this is the label for that. Also, on this, as an extra bonus, was the live version, which kind of really pissed me off when I first got it, was the live version of Wait For Me. I, at the time, didn't have the studio version and really wanted it, and I saw that it had Wait For Me, and it was like, oh goody, and I didn't notice that it was live. Oh well. Still an interesting album, not a bad album. If you want a quickie listen, an overview of Hall and Oates, this will do it. By no means is it thorough, but an interesting listen. A few more. I know I'm dragging this. Again, how can we describe this? Another hit record. Big Bamboo from Hall and Oates. They had this thing for top loading. Yeah, it's a top loading thing. I'll pull this out so you kiddies can look at it. There's the inner sleeve. And your custom label. This one needs to be clean too. Alright. I think I need to take my own advice about keeping albums clean, don't I? Huh. Well, the thing is, some of these haven't been taken out. I'll be honest with you. Some of these haven't been played probably in 15 years. So, honestly. I have most of this stuff on CD. Couple more. I really like this one. Live at the Apollo. They had some help with the Temptations on this, and it was a really great combination. It really was. I really like this album a lot. And, let me see here if I can get your labels out of here. Sleeves. Okay. There you go. And the cover. There you go. Same thing on the other side. Well, similar anyway. So, really good live album from them. It really showed their soulfulness, because I mean, Hall and Oates are really kind of underrated. People look at the commercial success that they had and their ability to adapt to current musical trends, but really they are a couple of very talented guys. So, in all honesty, one more to go. we're getting into the mid to late 80s here. Their career was kind of, yeah, it wasn't, they were still having hits though. Oh yeah. Hall and Oates, this will be the last one I show you. Show you it very quickly. The inner sleeve for this one. Lyrics on one side. Photos on the other side. Not a very becoming photo of you, Mr. Hall. But, I don't know. Looks like you're trying to pull your hair out of your head or something. It's like, you shouldn't be doing that, buddy. Anyway, I'll show you the inner sleeve on that one. A lot of these albums are very, very easy to find. If you've got a used record store in your area that has a dollar bin, most of the time Hall and Oates albums get thrown in the dollar bin because, well, let's face it, Hall and Oates isn't Miles Davis or John Coltrane or Neil Young or any of the happening stuff. But I'll tell you, if you overlook this group, you're missing something. Okay. Anyway, for you, Andre, that was my Hall and Oates vinyl collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave comments, questions. If there's a group that you would like to see, I can't guarantee you I'll get to it or even when I will, but if you won't know unless you ask. Okay? So you know where to stick it. Right down underneath there. Right underneath the video. Alrighty, guys. Until next time, peace and love.